stuff went into his because he was a terribly abusive, psychopathic individual. And the interesting thing about it is I wasn't doing any pain control at all, but when she came out of trance, she said she was free of the chronic headaches that had been the signature of her disease for over 6 months.
Wow, and it all stemmed from this horrible experience.
Yes, but put it in perspective now. If this was an ordinary psychiatrist talking to her, she would never have gotten there. Had it been, even as she'd been going into hypnosis and seeing the memory of that sexual abuse, most therapists would say, oh, yes, there's the memory, yeah, let's cry about it, now let's come on back. And I honestly don't believe that that's going to be enough for a serious tumor like this.
Right.
And that's why alchemy is about turning the lead into gold.
Now, did she get medical help as well and use both methods together to heal her?
Well, the truth is, although she was very excited about some ongoing work, I referred her at that point to a therapist that lived locally, because this was way back in South Carolina on the East Coast, so I referred her to someone locally, and so I didn't get to follow up with her, but she was very excited about the progress she was making. And as I recall, the doctors had said that it was an inoperable tumor, but I don't know whether they were able to use some radiation or chemotherapy on it. I think I don't know whether she even took advantage of those therapeutic procedures. That is likely to kill the client, as the cancer is, in a lot of cases. And this is one reason why, although I do recommend that we work with doctors wherever possible, we have to take charge of our own health in the 21st century. Because the pharmaceutical industry, all they really care about is the money. As long as the money is good, the treatment is good. And the money is definitely very, very expensive. You know,
but
I know myself, many people bankrupted by cancer.
Oh, I know.
While I do believe in using medical treatment, I believe in using alternative health practitioners like Dr. Rowan here in Santa Rosa, wherever possible, and in combining those kind of alternative methods, including diet, nutrition. There's a book called Tomorrow's Cancer Cures Today, which is an excellent book that gives you an outline of what some of the really successful treatments are, which you'll never hear about from your doctor, because the pharmaceutical industry doesn't want you to hear about it, and they don't want your doctor to hear about it either. There are a lot of, in fact, doctors are resolute in not letting anyone know what I'm doing, by and large, because they don't believe in it. The pharmaceutical industry hasn't given it approval, and of course we don't have the millions of dollars needed for the kind of research, double-blind research, which is considered the state-of-the-art in evidence-based medicine. I do believe in evidence-based medicine. I believe that we need to do the research. I'm just saying it's very difficult to get that done, given that there's not as much money in this approach. Frankly,
I've heard success stories with this.
What's that?
I've heard such success stories, though, with the hypnotherapy and the alternative medicine. I mean, just so many people I've talked to in the last 5 years that have told me, well, I didn't go, the conventional way with the radiation treatment. I actually went through hypnotherapy and holistic medicine and juicing and no more meat until you have, I've always been told when you have cancer, you cannot consume any meat because consuming something dead in your body will feed the cancer cells. You want to kill the cancer by oxygenating your body.
My belief is when it comes to cancer, which of course is a specialty of mine, you need to combine addressing these underlying subconscious causes with proper nutrition and diet, which does in fact mean a vegetarian diet. And by the way, that means not just cutting out meat, but cutting out most dairy products and eggs as well, all of which have animal protein. I know that sounds like a real sacrifice, but if you read the book The China Diet by a cancer nutrition researcher, it's called The China Diet. It's a really good book, and it's the book that I recommend to all of my cancer patients. Read this, study this, learn to eat this way, because this is this has been proven by research funded both by the American and Chinese and many other governments. This is the diet that works. You're not going to read about it in the newspaper because the newspapers are owned by the same corporations that own most of the rest of our economy. They don't want you to know about the low-fat, low-meat, low-dairy diet because there's too much money in those industries.
Absolutely right.
In fact, you may remember when Oprah Winfrey was sued by the American Beef Council for millions of dollars for daring to suggest that Americans should eat less meat. So the truth of the matter is our government and our government research grants are all controlled by the meat and dairy industry as well as the pharmaceutical industry. So you're not going to find out about this in the newspaper. You're not going to find out about it from government reports. But if you read the China Diet, that's the name.
I wrote it down. I'm going to the library tomorrow to see if they have it.
They sell them at Whole Foods as well. That's where I got my copy.
Okay. The China Diet.
They spell out the nutritional approach. However, that is in no way to negate the value of some medical treatments. For example, certain chemotherapy regimens can be extremely effective, as well as certain surgeries can be very important. So I'm not ruling those out. Instead, what you need to do is to find out from your doctor, from your alternative practitioners, what will work for me. Where is the evidence-based medicine on this? And make sure that you are on the right kind of diet and doing your hypnotherapy to clear the underlying cause. And you could be out of the cancer woods very quickly for a fraction of the cost that most cancer treatments cost. For example, and working with me, person comes in to see me for 4 sessions. That's 8 hours of intensive hypnosis over a period of about 2 days. And we are going to get to the underlying cause, and I will train you to work with your inner healer to reduce the size of that tumor. I will teach you to recognize the chemical signature of that tumor and how to stimulate your immune system to attack that tumor. And I will help you clear the underlying cause and release the tears and the grief and realign your life toward health. All that can be done in 2 days for under $1,000.
Oh, I think I'd take that any day over any kind of chemotherapy treatment. You know?
Well, of course, it's always difficult when people call me up and say, David, what guarantees can you make? What research results do you have? Well, I'd like to say, because I am a scientist, I'd like to say, here is the research and here is the evidence. I don't have the money even to do that kind of research. I can say that client after client goes home transformed and healed. I don't have the money to follow up 10 years, 20 years from now. One way of understanding this is maybe if the stresses recur in your life 10 years down the road, you might have a recurrence of that cancer, and you might need further sessions to help clear it. But that doesn't make it wrong.
Right.
And the truth is, my work is designed to clear the underlying cause so you don't need to deal with remission, with the return of the cancer in 5 or 10 or 20 years.
We're eliminating the word remission.
Yes, we need to have something called a cure. And
Absolutely.
It's awfully early for me to make any kind of statement that I've found a cure. I'm not going to be that arrogant. Even though a lot of both alternative and mainstream physicians have made that claim in the past. What I can say is that we now know what diet is going to help it heal. We know what hypnotic techniques can be precisely attuned to clear the underlying cause. And we know a lot of good medicines that do work in the field of the cancer treatment, as well as a lot that don't.
Well, I know for myself, if God forbid I was ever diagnosed with this disease, I would definitely seek you out, along with my alternative doctor, to help me get through whatever it is I need to get through to cure my body of this disease. That's me, though. Some people, as soon as they hear the word cancer, and I get it, because I lost a great many people to this disease in my own personal life, and as soon as you hear that word, it like you said, does something to their subconscious. They kind of
a lot of people just panic, and they just say, oh, my God, really run to the doctor, do whatever it takes, no matter how toxic it is, cut off my leg, cut off my arm, cut off my breath, whatever it takes, I can't take it, I don't want to die of this. I'd like to say to people, back off a little bit from that panicky approach.
Exactly.
Realize the cancer cells originate in the body all the time as a simple mistake in reproduction, and that your body's immune system can be, instead of being destroyed by chemotherapy, your immune system can be properly tuned to recognize cancer cells and destroy them. That's one of the things your immune system is designed to do. We just need to activate it, and hypnosis, it turns out, is one of the most effective ways to activate the immune system.
Well,
for example,
it's fascinating.
Yes, in my own healing of rheumatoid arthritis, I found the most effective technique that I could use was simply, besides clearing the underlying cause, was simply alerting my body that these joint linings were me. We're not an alien. We're not dangerous. We're not something that needed to be attacked. And simply informing the cells of my immune system gathered around these joints to stand down. Just relax. And in the course of doing that, I could watch the heat. The heat disappeared almost instantly, and the swelling disappeared within 24 hours as the fluid drained out of the joint.
That's absolutely amazing.
Hypnosis is the strategy for activating the immune system for any purpose at all.
Wow.
And yet, doctors are simply not using it. You see, nowadays, in fact, they have drugs, for example, like Lyrica and others that are designed to block the immune system. The immunosuppressant drugs are called. They're very popular now. The purpose of these drugs, of course, is to stop things like psoriasis or rheumatoid arthritis by blocking the immune system. The problem is, and you can hear it in all the ads, you might get tuberculosis, you might get cancer. Your immune system is clearly not going to be working very well by the time we've taken this sledgehammer to it. So be very careful not to get any infections. If you've had any infections, talk to your doctor. Don't take this drug. And that cancer, as well as other diseases, can be a consequence.
Well, the side effects alone are frightening. I mean, when you hear those side effects that they talk about, it's like, oh my God, I'd just rather not take that and go a different route.
Whereas, when you use hypnosis, the only side effects is calm, peace, and well-being.
I could live with that.
I could live with that, too. I could live with them side effects for sure.
Now, David, I want to ask you a quick question. I want to shift gears for just a minute because we only have about 13 more minutes left in the broadcast.
God, I'm sorry to be talking your ear off here.
No, you know what? My chat room is so enthralled with you right now. That's probably why nobody's called, because they just want to listen to you, David. And you're a pillar of information. And I guess I'm asking this question for my own self, because when I saw it on your website, I thought, yeah, I think I'm going to have to pay a visit to David. You talk about past life regression, and ever since I was a child, I have dealt with, I guess, flashbacks.
Okay, we've got to do another show on this. Come on, now, you can't spring this on me in the last 12 minutes. You've got to know, first of all, I am one of the top past life regression experts in the country, and no, I can't summarize my work of past life regression in 13 minutes.
Okay. Well, okay, then we will have to book you again in the next, month or so for another show and do strictly past life regression, because even for myself, when I'm doing astrology...
Well, I will take one question, okay? I will take one question from you, provided everyone knows this is going to be nothing but a cliffhanger for the next show. Go ahead. What you got?
Okay, well, here's my question. In my own personal experience with this, I was wondering how hypnotherapy could help me in some way to almost give myself closure. I understand some of my past life because of the astrology that I practice. I practice the Nostradamus method, so I can tap into some past lives. But through the years, and it started when I was very young, I would have these flashbacks almost, and they weren't pleasant. They weren't pleasant. Let's just put it that way. And I almost want, and I know some of you out there are going to think I'm crazy and insane, but it is written in my own stars that I have walked the Native American path before. And
do you have flashbacks as a Native American then?
I think so. Yes. I know that sounds insane, but
are they pleasant flashbacks or are they traumatic?
They're traumatic, and it happened to me as a child when I was at the San Juan Bautista mission here in California, right here in San Juan Bautista, and never told my parents about it because they were incredibly religious, and I thought, I'm going to be on a shrink couch forever. I never said anything, and I kind of just, I think my subconscious blocked it out of my mind.
Well, what I would do is set up an individual session. Maybe, you know, I do phone sessions as well as in person.
Okay.
And I can do phone sessions very easily with past life work.